All righty, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Jonathan Pearson, Sales Application Engineer here at Pytes Energy, and I'm joined by my comrade Logan, who's a product manager here at Pytes Energy. Very excited today to talk about the V10 battery. This is going to be our latest in our product line and our low voltage product offering. We're really excited today to talk about some key features, both internally and the exterior of this product, to bring a lot of key advantages and new features to the energy storage marketplace. So today, for those of you that are new, I'm going to talk a little bit about the background here at Pytes Energy. Pytes might be new to you, but we've been around here for a long time now. Been in the market here in the United States and in LATAM for just over 5 years. Logan is going to take us through the detailed engineering work that has been in process for the V10 battery. This is a lot of great features and a lot of great improvements that we have received into the V10 battery from the V5 from your guys' feedback. And then lastly, I'm going to be bringing us back home to talk about some installer resources, reinforce, the great product features that are in the V10 battery, and tell you guys a little bit more about our short-term plan here with the tariffs. So starting here, Pytes, might be new to you, but we've actually been manufacturing batteries in Shanghai, China for over 20 years now. We got our start there, and that is where our company's headquarters is today. We also have a manufacturing plant in Vietnam that it manufactures more of our 3C batteries and our e-bike, e-scooter, and e-motorcycle batteries. Pytes, we have a lot of backing, and we're in a lot of markets here. A global company with global impact. We are in almost every continent here in the world and have a lot of infrastructure. Been over around for, like I mentioned, 20 years and have over 1,000 employees here at Pytes. So on our next slide here, we're going to be talking a little bit more about our product infrastructure. Here are our original product line parts for both low voltage and high voltage. So talking here today, we're going to talk about energy storage, but just wanted to tell you guys that, we do have a lot of backing. We have several Fortune 500 companies that are invested in our e-bike, e-scooter, and e-motorcycle products, as well as our 3C products. The electric toothbrush that you're using might be paired with Pytes batteries. So highlighting the quality of our product is a huge key feature here at Pytes. We believe in the quality of our product, and we always are here to get the top products for you guys. We believe helps in lots of key safety features, as well as we're always trying to push the envelope of having the most quality product on the marketplace. Pytes, we were able to secure our own fulfillment management chain. We do ship directly from Shanghai directly to our resources here. Our warehouses are in Los Angeles, and our headquarters here in the United States is in Dallas, Texas. So we control all of the product lines and all of the logistic transit for for our products. Inside our energy storage products, we use Tier 1 EV Grade A EV LFP Grade A cells. These are the best cells that we can put in our energy storage products. And outside of putting the best cells in our products, the rock star of our Pytes Energy product line is really the communications in our BMS. So throughout 20 years, we have been manufacturing our BMS protocols and protections on all of our products. We control both the hardware and software that is integrated inside every single BMS in our products. And all of our product line, the V5, the E-Box, the Pi-LV1, our HV battery line, and now the V10 battery all have the Pytes BMS built within it. And that is one of the key separators for us in the marketplace. Being able to control both the hardware and software means quick answers to complicated problems that need to be solved. And a product, when you plug in, will just work. So that's something we really stand behind. Also, long-lasting cells. All of our products come with a 10-year, 6,000 cycle at 90% depth of discharge. We are really pushing the marketplace and having a product that can drain up to 90% depth of discharge. That's a huge benefactor because you're getting more capacity out of each individual battery and your cells built within your on-grid, off-grid, or grid-tied system. Last but not least, every single product that comes off of our product line is tested for 24 hours. We cycle it several times, measuring each individual cell components. That is 16 cells in each battery, testing the state of charge and if everything is communicating properly through the BMS of the battery. That's how we're able to quality check a lot of problems before anything is shipped directly from our manufacturing plant in Shanghai. And that is what really leads to a product that you can rely on. And these products, that make it out, only 3 out of every 1,000 have an issue, such as a BMS, a reader, or a power board that we can field replace. And then on our next slide here, I'm going to hand it over to our product manager, Logan, to talk about the new ins and outs of our V10 battery here today.
All right. Thank you so much, Jonathan, for the intro there and my introduction as well as Pytes' introduction. My name again is Logan. I'm product manager with Pytes USA. I'll be covering today a little more of the technical details and specifications for our new V10 battery. This is a product that all of us here at Pytes have been super excited about for a while and very eager to introduce to everybody out there as well. I know that a couple of our more recent trainings, if any of you have attended an on-site training with one of our distribution partners, or we're in attendance at NABCET for our trainings there. We've introduced the V10 a little bit here and there, but today is really going to be a much more, I think, deeper dive on the battery, some of its key features, and functions, what we've developed here for the V10. So this is a brand new battery from Pytes, really targeting, I think, the small to medium residential market. This is something that we've developed with our installers and our AHJs in mind. I think a lot of customer and installer feedback has really gone into the design of this product. Sorry. Before I get too much further I just want to mention, if anybody has questions during the presentation, you all are welcome to drop those questions in the chat. We can kind of save some time at the end for Q&A. Jonathan and I will try to get to the chat questions during the presentation, but you can also wait till the end, use the raise hand function, or drop your questions in the chat, and then we'll get through any questions at the end. Make sure to save some time. So back to V10. This is our newest addition to our low voltage product line. It is a 10 kilowatt hour battery, 9.98 kilowatt hours to be exact, 51.2 volt nominal. So again, part of our low voltage product line. It's got about 195 amp hour capacity. I think for the lot of examples and things I'm giving today, I'll refer to that as a 200 amp hour capacity just to make the math a little bit easier. But just hitting on some key features really quick. Like I said, this is something that's been in the works for a while. We've really worked with a lot of our installer partners, our distributors, talked to code specialists, AHJs out there throughout the US, and built in, I think, a lot of really great new features related to safety, related to installation environment, and also just including some things that we hope makes the installation overall easier for anybody putting these batteries in. So it does have now an integrated aerosol fire suppression system. We can do ESS emergency shutdown. Our 2 decades of BMS experience, all the way from small, like Jonathan said, toothbrush batteries to e-bikes and scooters to large scale energy storage system. That expertise and knowledge has also trickled down into the V10 BMS, which I'll touch on a bit as well. An upgraded warranty too. I know Jonathan mentioned 10-year, 6,000 cycle, 90% depth of discharge is kind of our standard warranty. for most of our products in the ESS world across the board. This battery has an increased cycle life. We've bumped it up to 8,000 cycles from 6,000, still at the 90% DoD, and you can even get an additional 2 years of warranty coverage, making that a 12-year total warranty for the new V10 battery. This is something that can be wall mounted outdoors. It can be floor mounted as well. It has an IP66 enclosure rating, so very, very well protected against the environment, high humidity, salinity, things like that. Of course, an integrated self-heating function for low temperature operation, and then a few other, I think, upgrades to the hardware side and the BMS side that are really going to make this a competitive product, I think, in the US market and Latin America as well. So touching just a little bit on power and scalability, as I said in the last slide, so it's about 10 kilowatt hours, 9.98 kilowatt hours to be exact. The recommended charge and discharge rate for V10 is 120 amps per battery. That's about a 0.6 C rate, just about 6 kilowatts input and output is the recommended continuous. We can do a maximum continuous discharge current of around 150 amps. So getting close to about 8 kilowatts on the continuous discharge side. That's about 0.8 C rate. And for any of you out there that have worked with Pytes before, I'm sure several of you have used our hub accessory, which is really just a component to, I say, manage communications or facilitate battery communications in larger scale systems. So being that this is a 10 kilowatt hour battery now, it's essentially the capacity of 2 V5 batteries put together. Again, for those of you already familiar with Pytes, we can do up to 8 units of the V10 in parallel without a hub. So that's just around 80 kilowatt hours in terms of the scalability there. And honestly, I mean, for most, if not all, residential projects, for the most part, there's exceptions out there, some really big homes or ranches, off-grid properties and stuff. But 80 kilowatt hours is a serious amount of storage for residential. I find that most of the time, something in the 10 to 20, maybe 30 kilowatt hour range is usually sufficient in a lot of cases. We can go even higher than that, though, with our hub accessory. Like I said, that's an additional component that is needed for larger scale systems. We can go to just under 500 kilowatt hours, so almost half a megawatt hour of total energy storage if you employ our hub, and that allows you to have a maximum of 48 V10 batteries installed in the system. I think in some cases, larger scale projects may still favor the V5 just for the the form factor and the server rack kind of dimensions there. But again, V10 is going to be a really great option for, I think smaller to medium scale residential projects where maybe all you really need is that 10 to, 20, maybe 30 kilowatt hour sweet spot there. So what I've got queued up next is actually just a short introduction video about the V10. It's going to touch on a lot of the key safety and environmental features that we've incorporated in this new product. It's about a minute or so long. And then after that, we'll go into detail on a bit more on each one of those features. Hopefully that played correctly for everybody, but pretty sweet, right? Before, like I said, we'll touch on each one of those points that were shown in that short little video. But before we get into that, I just kind of want to go back to basics a little bit, right, and talk about the battery cells that are at the core of the V10 battery. We'll discuss that for a bit here. So across the board, for the most part, all of our low voltage products, E-Box, V5, the Pytes stackable battery, and our high voltage products as well, currently employ 100 amp hour prismatic cells. I think that's been sort of the industry standard for, maybe at least a few years now. One of the, if not the biggest change on the V10 battery to get that higher capacity into the 10 kilowatt hour range is we're actually using a different or a larger size prismatic cell that's now 230 amp hours. So I had spoke before a little bit about the capacity of the V10 battery being around 200 amp hours. That's what we've rated it to in terms of the nominal and the usable capacity. Inside, the cells are actually a 230 amp hour capacity. And one of the reasons for that derating is really just to get as long of a lifespan out of this product as you possibly can. So I mentioned before the improvement to our warranty, right? 8,000 cycles at 90% depth of discharge. It's essentially 2,000 additional cycles compared to all of our other products. And that also gives us a higher or an increased amount of energy throughput. So what I mean by that energy throughput is sort of the total amount of energy kilowatt hours you can put into or take out of the battery during its lifespan. I know our V5 battery, for example, at half the capacity of the V10, we can say, right, a 5 kilowatt hour battery, that battery per our warranty had a total energy throughput rating of about between 19 and 20 megawatt hours, okay, throughout its whole life. The V10, however, now has a 60 megawatt hour throughput rating. So even though it's twice the capacity of the V5, we can say the throughput warranty is actually over 3 times as much as it was. So again, just really trying to extend the longevity of the new battery as much as we can. Another reason for switching to the higher capacity cells was they're actually a bit more efficient than the 100 amp hour cells we used previously, about a 50% reduction of internal resistance. So, increased charging and discharging efficiency across the board. And they're more cost effective to manufacture as well. Now, I'm sure anybody who's paying attention, or pretty much everyone in our industry right now is seeing news about price increases and trade tariffs and relations between U.S. and China. That said, we don't yet have a finalized price for the V10. However, we are anticipating that it will come in somewhere between 15 to 20% less than our V5 battery if we look at the usable capacity, and even more so, maybe 25% or more savings there compared to our V5 with our outdoor rated cabinet. Remember, V10 on its own is outdoor rated IP66. There is no extra enclosure cabinet that the battery has to be installed inside of. So, a higher price compared to the V5 overall, but I would think a better, we can say a price per kilowatt hour, if you will, at the end of the day. I know Jonathan will touch on that a little bit more later in the slides today, but that's one of the things that's still being worked out on our end. So we'll dive into some of the features now. One of the, I think, biggest advantages of the V10 is its outdoor rating. So this is a product that's designed to go outside. You can mount it on a wall, you can mount it on the ground. It's going to hold up extremely well in tough, high humidity, even high salinity environments. So one of those things is the ingress protection rating of the battery. We've designed this product with an IP66 rating. So I've got a little chart over here on the left, which I personally think is really interesting if anybody has kind of dived into this at any point. But right, IP is ingress protection. The number on the, I should say the first number is its protection against the entry of solids. The second number is protection against entry of water. So what's super interesting here for me is the number six rating of the solids is I think the highest it goes on that side. You can see on the water side, right? It goes 1 through 8. We're at a 6. And what that means is, like, short of submerging the battery underwater, it can withstand rain, it can withstand, pressurized water jets being sprayed at it. I mean, this is something that you could potentially have installed on a dock or the deck of a boat even, and it would still, prevent any water intrusion there. So really, I think opening the door for, many more different types of installation environments compared to what we can do with the V5, and even our other products like the stackable battery, which is outdoor rated itself, but I think maybe just an IP55. And this one has, again, IP66. Speaking a little bit more about the outdoor protection, we've got a very, very high degree, a C4 rated anti-corrosion coating on the exterior battery case, and also special coatings internally on the circuit boards to prevent any corrosion over time due to high salinity or high humidity environments. We've also got, just like our V5, an integrated heating pad in the V10. The design was improved a little bit. It's one higher power, so 250 watts consumption compared to the 170 watt consumption of our V5 heating pad. So it's more, I would say, more effective, but also it's now in contact, maybe a little hard to tell from the photo, but basically in contact with all of the cells within the pack, rather than just in contact with some of them. We've also added more temperature sensors. We have twice the amount of temperature sensors compared to V5. There's 8 total sensors compared to 4. So again, it really just lets the BMS get the most accurate picture of the battery's internal temperature and heat itself accordingly. Some of the safety features on V10 we've added, I hinted at some of these before. The main one for me is integrated aerosol fire suppression. So this is something that's built into the battery. It has essentially it will activate upon high temperature over 400 degrees Celsius. So in other words, in the event of thermal runaway, if we have a catastrophic failure inside the batteries and the potential for fire is there or started, the aerosol suppression system will engage. It will produce a substance. It'll release a substance, a gas that will help to essentially slow the chemical reaction that could otherwise cause a fire. I think this is something we're going to see a lot more and more, especially on the commercial side already. It's, I think, being implemented a little more widely than it is on the resi side so far, but trying to prepare for the future and just, again, give our installers and customers as much flexibility as possible. I know one of the main concepts for residential fire safety isn't necessarily putting out the fire, if you will, and saving the building. It's mostly about allowing those occupants of that building or structure to safely exit before anything bad happens. So another preventative measure we've employed on the V10 is a pressure decompression valve. This is something that'll open up and release any buildup of potentially flammable gases upon high pressure detection. And then lastly, we can now do ESS emergency shutdown. There is a physical circuit breaker on the V10 battery. I'll hit on that a bit more later, but you can connect a manual push button, an emergency stop button, something like you see here, to our battery, and pressing the button will send a signal to the battery, which will then cause the battery to trip the circuit breaker. So this is something that we can do with our V5 currently, but the catch here is that the V10 has a circuit breaker built in while the V5 doesn't. So what this does is it actually opens the circuit between the battery and the inverter and ensures that there's no voltage from the batteries, leaving the battery itself, right? We don't have any live voltage on our inverter cables or DC bus bar. And I'll add to that, in a multi-battery system, say you've got 3 or 4 V10s connected together, you can wire your emergency push button to the primary battery, and that signal for shutdown gets cascaded to the following batteries and causes each one of the batteries in the system in a parallel configuration to all open their breakers in sequence there. So again, ensuring no voltage anywhere on the DC bus or at the inverter coming from the batteries. So we've talked a little bit about the Pytes BMS. You know, there's a lot of batteries out there on the market that employ, you know, similar capacities, even similar cells in some cases. The BMS is really one of the I think standout features for our product against the competition. So again, this is something we've been developing over 2 decades across multiple different product lines, and that's really allowed us to achieve this proven technology with multiple levels of protection. The V10, like our other low voltage solution, it employs a MOSFET BMS rather than a contactor BMS. So a MOSFET BMS, you can kind of think of it as like an electronic gate or a valve that isn't necessarily physically opening or closing, but it's just changing state to allow current or voltage to pass through or not in response to signals sent by the BMS. So when we compare those 2 types of battery management systems together, right, and going back a step, you know, to explain that a bit, the BMS, the battery management system, is something that essentially protects the battery from operating outside of its rated limits, right? So the BMS is something that's monitoring the temperature, the voltage, the current in and out, not just of the battery on a pack level, but also down to each cell level. Each of the 16 cells reports its data to the BMS, and if the BMS sees something that it doesn't like, it sees some condition happening that is outside of the battery's safe operating range, right? It sends that signal to the MOSFETs, which would turn off, which essentially, you know, turn the battery off, for lack of a better word, or at least remove any voltage or current from leaving or entering the battery to keep it safe, to keep it from sustaining any damage. So when we look at those 2 different types of battery management systems side by side, a MOSFET against a contactor, there's definitely some pros and cons. I think one of the biggest talking points about MOSFET BMS is it's a solid state component, right? There's no moving parts in general, right? Anything that has moving parts, a fan, a motor, a belt, if you will, right? Even a circuit breaker clicking on and off, which is kind of similar to what a contactor BMS does. Over time, those things are going to wear out and fail, right? Solid state components like a MOSFET BMS, you have a much, I think, higher lifespan and degree of reliability. One of the things that the MOSFET can also do a bit better, it's a much faster response time compared to the contactor, virtually no or very, very low power consumption because you're not needing any power from the batteries to maintain that MOSFET in one state or the other like you would have with the contactor. As I said, super long lifespan, nearly infinite compared to the life of a contactor BMS, and just excellent quality and reliability. Again, no moving parts for us means less, less things that can fail and wear out over time. One of the things that the contactor does better than a MOSFET, though, is handling high amounts of current and voltage, right? So because of that, we have not just one MOSFET as part of our battery management system, but there's several there that give us some redundancy and again give us the capability to handle the amounts of current and voltage present in a low voltage install like this. Another, I think, really important feature that we've added to the V10 is a pre-charge circuit. So this is an additional level of protection, not just for the batteries, but for the BMS in general. And it allows the, backing up a little bit, when you connect a battery to an inverter, and say that inverter has not been energized before. So what I mean by that is we haven't connected that inverter to the grid. We haven't connected that inverter to PV. This is a brand new install you're commissioning for the first time. The batteries are the first thing that power it up. Sometimes, depending on the inverter model, when that inverter turns on for the first time, the capacitors within it will energize very quickly and can cause a very high amount of current to be pulled out of the battery, which, if it's high enough, can cause damage to the BMS or to the MOSFET specifically because they're not able to, I'll say, respond fast enough. I see that issue more so with transformer-based inverters like a Victron Quattro or a Schneider XW Pro. Not so much with your all-in-ones like Solarca Lux Power, but the potential is still there. What the pre-charge circuit does is essentially a resistor that connects the battery pack to the inverter's capacitor before the actual cells. So it allows the inverter capacitor to slowly energize. It sort of bleeds voltage into the inverter, lets the inverter capacitors catch up to the level of the batteries. And essentially, once they're at the same voltage or very close to each other, then it switches over, connects the batteries to the inverter, and now you've kind of avoided that high inrush current surge that can sometimes happen. And also the new enhanced BMS on the V10 has some aluminum backing plates by the MOSFETs to serve as heat sinks and just further improve its performance in high temperature situations. So I'll touch on this really quick. I mentioned the circuit breaker that's built in onto the front of the battery. This is kind of a close-up shot of some of the controls there on the side of the unit. It's got a lockable cover for the circuit breaker, but one thing to point out, it's a 125 amp rated breaker. As I said before, we can do 120 amps charge and discharge continuous and up to 150 continuous as a maximum. So the breaker here in this case can sustain higher amounts of current than what it's rated for at 125. But one of the key features is it actually breaks or disconnects both the positive and the negative poles. So that way, if one of those sides were to fail or not work, you still have, an open circuit condition as long as we're disconnecting one pole or the other. But in this case, it's complete isolation. The breaker disconnects both the positive and the negative from the system there. If you did employ that ESS emergency stop that I showed before and the breaker trips, you do have to go out and manually reset the breaker, even if the emergency stop condition was reset. So it's kind of like a one-way street there, but typically something that's just employed in the case of emergencies. And that's another benefit of the MOSFET-based BMS as well. So when you look at a contactor BMS, the response times can be a little slower. And that means that if you have an overcurrent event, maybe the breaker on the battery would trip. And now when that overcurrent event goes away and things go back to normal, the breaker's still tripped and you have to do a manual reset. Whereas if we let the BMS manage that instead, like a MOSFET BMS would, it's just going to turn off and then turn back on as soon as that fault current goes back down to a normal level or goes away. And then just a quick shot of our surge ratings on the battery. 150 amps is the max continuous discharge. Between 150 and 175, you can do that for 30 minutes. And then a 200 amp rated discharge or above 200 amps of charge, it'll sustain that for 3 minutes. Once you get to 300 amps, then it's essentially a 0-second response time, and that's when the BMS disconnects. So another hardware feature we built in here is our current limiter. I'll get through this a little quick and kind of just touch on the key points, but right over time, when you have parallel connected batteries in the same system, they can become unbalanced. So within each battery, as a function of the BMS, you have cell level balancing. It's passive balancing in all of our batteries, but it just allows the cells within a certain battery to all be at the same percentage, the same state of charge. However, on the pack level, on the battery level, you can say over time, you can see some variance between parallel connected batteries, right? That can be due to small manufacturing differences, differences in resistance, differences in your cabling or busing. That's why it's important to have, same length, same gauge cables between all your batteries in the common bus. So over time, if you do have batteries that become out of balance, like maybe one's at 99 or 98%, some others are at 96. Well, as soon as their SOC goes above a certain amount, the BMS will start to limit charge current, right? And it slowly charges the batteries up to 100. But if you have one battery that hits 100% first, but the others have not, that one battery is still going to send a, I'm full signal to your inverter and tell the inverter to stop charging, right? So you have that battery hitting 100%, whereas the others aren't yet. What this current limiter component does, which is something that's on the hardware side inside the battery, it allows those lower batteries to continue taking on more charge, while the higher one, essentially it increases its resistance so that the higher one can't take as much current, and it sort of lets the lower batteries catch up, if you will. So something that we've incorporated here to improve the balancing between multiple parallel connected batteries, and at the end of the day lets the batteries with the lower state of charge sort of catch up to the higher ones, if you will. A quick shot of the preliminary packing list for V10. These components, I would say, are subject to change at the moment, but this is what I've got so far. So you of course get the battery in the box. You get a couple of terminal cover plates and conduit attachment pieces here to cover up the exposed terminals and switches on the side. I'll show more about that in the next slide. You get a wall mount bracket for the battery, sort of a French cleat style bracket. It comes with two power cables, positive and negative. Those will be a 0 AWG or 1/0. The battery terminals are Amphenol connectors. So one end of the power cables will have that same Amphenol plug. The other end will be a ring terminal that you can use to take to your inverter or your DC bus bar or combiner. You'll get battery-to-battery comms cables as well. Just like all our other products, those are just standard Ethernet, Cat5, Cat6, no custom pinouts there. What's unique about the V10, because of that high IP66 rating, the battery-to-battery comms cables have a special waterproof connector on one of the sides. So if you're doing, for example, a single battery and a single inverter, right, you don't need to connect comms to a second battery because there's just one. So you can use that same cable to go to an inverter, like a Solarc, like a Lux Power, like an EG4, and all you would need to do is just remove that special waterproof connector and then crimp on a standard one, which is also included with the cabling as well there. So again, just hitting on that installation flexibility, I think, as much as we can. And then, of course, you get a ground cable to ground the chassis of the unit as well there. A few things on mounting. So I've said before, right, we can do a wall mount, and that bracket that you see here, that French cleat style hanging bracket, is included with the battery. So what I mean by that is this piece here, if we go back, this bracket, right, you would, space it out, find your studs, bolt this to the wall, make sure it's level, and then the battery sort of just hangs on top of that bracket, right? So you're not having to sort of like manhandle this 220-pound beast of a unit, trying to get it level, trying to find the attachment points. You just have to secure the bracket to the wall, and then the battery kind of just slots right on top of the lip right there. Being that it is such a heavy product, right? It's like I said, 220 pounds. We're developing a lifting dolly, this mechanism you see here, that should hopefully be available middle of this summer, just to help out lifting that battery into place and allowing you to get it onto the wall mount bracket. And again, that is included with the V10. The other option for mounting here is you can floor mount it. or ground mounted, probably floor mount makes more sense to say since it's not a PV array, but this is an optional accessory, right? So we have this bottom bracket or this tray that lets the battery sit on the ground or the floor. You would still secure it to the wall, just to prevent it from getting tipped over, but that avoids having to, hang a bunch of weight on your wall if the structure doesn't have that integrity, or use the lifting dolly. I want to pause for a second here on this slide too, because I think these renderings do a good side view of the battery where our the user area is, we can say, this little thing on the back, by the way, is a heat sink. But all the terminals, switches, pressure valve, breaker, etc., Wi-Fi dongle, that's all on the side of the battery here. So this is what it looks like normally, and I think it does a really good job of showing where the Wi-Fi dongle installs. Using these two pieces that are included with the packing list, your terminal cover plate, your conduit attachment piece, converts this to this here that you'd see with the floor mount. So those two pieces can be installed. It covers up all of our breakers, our power buttons, our comms ports, our power cables, and gives us a point or an interface where we can run conduit in and out of the battery. I'll take one quick moment as well to point out the Wi-Fi dongle. So notice how this Wi-Fi dongle is not covered up by the terminal plate. We don't want to impede the wireless signal there. So that still installs externally like you see it there. And actually the Wi-Fi dongle for V10 is going to be the same accessory that we use for V5. So kind of nice not to have to introduce an additional part number there. I just got a couple more before I pass it back to Jonathan to wrap it up for us today, but some examples of parallel battery installation. So in addition to the V10, we've developed a couple new accessories as well to just make our installers' lives as easy as we can. One of those is a 300 amp rated bus bar, which you can see here in the middle, and another one is a conduit box. So when we especially do an outdoor installation, you can use both of these accessories together. The bus bar actually comes with cables pre-wired to it to land on your inverter and on one battery. Then we can also provide the cables to attach parallel batteries to that same bus, or even attach two different bus bars together. For example, if you had a higher current multi-inverter system. That bus bar, again, it's 300 amp rated, and you can use it with or without the conduit box. I think the conduit box is something that we've been honestly lacking maybe for a little while. That's something you can use for the V10. It'll be compatible with some of the future projects we have in the pipeline as well. And then it also works for a Pi LV1 stackable outdoor rated battery just the same. So have some more compatibility with that accessory. And lastly, for me, just a quick shot of our certification timeline for the V10. So just like with all of our other products, right, they go through a very rigorous safety and certification test with a nationally recognized testing laboratory. We've already got our UN 38.3 for hazardous materials transportation, UL 1973 scheduled for mid this month, and 9540A at the end of this month. That'll be for the module and unit level. Touching a little bit on maybe the most important one, 9540, which in this case will be the third edition, will certify the V10 as a DC ESS, which means now it can be paired with essentially any inverter that has its own 1741 UL certification. We're currently undergoing all the certification testing, as you can see here. But the first initial units we're hoping to be available maybe mid-May, and then slotted for mass production and distribution sometime this summer. Hopefully June is the target for that. So again, we'll come back to some of those points. Anyone who has questions or comments towards the end here, I'm going to pass the mic back to Jonathan to go over some installer resources and benefits of working with Pytes. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Logan. Really appreciate that insight A lot of great things are coming out here with the V10, and we're very excited about it. But for those of you that are new installers and existing installers, we really encourage everyone to join our Pytes Power program. This is a key program that allows you to have more in-depth training from us, one-on-one time, where we can go over projects, talk about solutions, and make sure that you're dialed in to all the products and availability for that are offered by Pytes Energy. Also, you're internally going on our map. We get homeowners that are interested in Pytes products but are looking for an installer. We're able to send these homeowners directly to you through an email into your territory. So that's very important. Also, co-marketing. We give shout outs to our installers on our socials. We're all about encouraging engagement here. And also, if you feel so inclined to give us a Google review of our product, we are able to facilitate offering Amazon cards for pictures, for photos, and details. This feedback is very crucial. We're all in this environment together, and feedback from you guys here in the field is what encourage us to pass that to our research and development team and create these products. It's exactly how the V10 battery came to life. And last but not least, VP webinars. Definitely something we want to do is encourage more NABCEP training. So it's a way for us to give NABCEP credits directly to installers that are our Pytes Power partners as well. And something that also is going on right now, these tariffs are coming, these prices are going to be increasing. In our short term, we have a lot of stock here to lock in your price for the V5 battery and all of our existing product line. Become a Pytes Power partner. This will ensure that you can lock the price in before we have to increase the prices on our product. Obviously, these tariffs are changing, if not daily, hourly. The situation is very fluid, as we like to say. And we're keeping our arms to the pulse for sure. But rest assured that we have plenty of stock here until mid-June, and a great way to lock in that price is to become a Pytes Power partner. To become a Pytes Power partner, all you have to do is go onto our website. It's really easy to sign up. We just need your information. I will follow up with you to give a one-on-one training. Once you have an official installation, we're off and running. Now I want to talk about the V5 battery. Primarily we've talked about the V10, but the V5, this is our flagship product and our most popular battery module. Just highlighting it here very briefly, it's a rack mount battery. We have an over-the-counter V brackets that will be paired with it to stack up to 30 kilowatt hours, real plug-and-play system. We have bus bars that come with the V5 battery to ensure ease of installation. No need for third-party busing when you have one stack and one inverter. Just run your home run cables, comms, and battery connections, and you're off and running. Also, all the certifications are here with this, and we'll talk a little bit more about all of our certifications as far as UL 9540, UL 9540, a UL 1973, and all of the infrastructure that we have in our certifications. We believe in certifications. That is putting our product, our high quality product, up to the test to make sure that it is safe for your homeowners. And here, if ever there is a situation where we need a little bit of troubleshooting, feel free, homeowners, to reach out to your installers and distributors. 9 times out of 10, just checking your connections will go a long way when it comes to getting a system back up and running. But for those exclusive troubleshooting, we do have ways. We have Wi-Fi dongles that are associated with the V5 and V10 battery. Logan mentioned it. So it's a way we can remotely go into the system and see what's going on a cellular level to diagnose what is going on and also provide firmware updates. If you do not have a Wi-Fi dongle, there's also means of going through a computer using BMS QT or hyperterminal applications that are on our Pytes website, real easy to find and download, to push firmware and also diagnose systems on a different level. So here at Pytes, you call, we answer. That is the big thing here. Our service is top notch, and we have a lot of great people here that are devoted to the craft of making this solar system work and keeping this infrastructure going here and ultimately keeping happy customers. We want power goes off, we want to turn it on as soon as possible. And speaking a little bit more about our communications, like I mentioned earlier in the slide, and Logan has mentioned, our BMS is really the rock star of our product. We're able to close loop communicate seamlessly with all of these inverters: Solarc, Victron, Solus, Lux Power, EG4, Magrevo, Schneider, Homie Miles, and several others. GrowWatt is a big partner of ours. We do have open communications, which meaning that the inverter is reading voltage compared to state of charge into the BMS for Outback, Magnum, and Morningstar. So for projects that we have that are still using these inverters today, obviously as the years go by, these inverters get a little bit more and more older, and so do I. But we're still able to integrate with them through voltage. So, Outback Radiant, we can get that done. If you have a lead acid swap, these are always a little bit of low hanging fruit. Swapping over lead acid to lithium is something that we can do. And all of these integration guides to go over programming and installation are on our Pytes website in our download center. So not only are these integration guides on our download center, but all of the certifications for all of our products, the PyLV1, the V10, the V5, the HV48100, all of the certifications are there for permitting processes. We need to have this ahead of time. All of our information is nice, cleanly accessed and available. Here at Pytes, we are transparent. We want to give that information to you guys readily available. And also, that's how we do a lot of our communications, is passing off these spec sheets, installation manuals, integration guides, and also certifications. Pytes, we really believe in certifications is putting our product and our money where our mouth is. So we really believe in the high quality of our product, and all that information is real easy to access on our download center. So talking a little bit more about the UL9540. So UL9540 is an integration test with both the inverter and the battery system, an ESS, energy storage system. UL9540A is a fire test safety. This is what allows us to get around the NEC 2023 code. Whenever there is inclinations of where we can only install 20 kilowatt hours of storage, having these certifications allows us to install bigger systems for residential needs. 20 kilowatt hours, it's a good size, but for some energy storage needs are much higher than that. And we're able to do that with the certifications that we have in place. And we have these for both our low voltage and high voltage commercial offerings as well. Awesome, guys. Today, I just wanted to summarize a little bit of information that Logan went over and highlight some points here, the V10 battery. So talking specifically from a safety standpoint, what we have done to recreate and improve in the V10 is now we have rapid shutdown. Rapid shutdown is a key feature that people are always looking after in jurisdictions. It is growing more and more popular for AHJs to require this from energy storage as well as solar. So to do this, we have integrated a breaker that is a two-pole breaker to take out both the positive and negative leads, open circuit sync, so there is no energy flow or amperage between the energy storage system and the inverter. Complete rapid shutdown solution. Also, we have 8 thermal temperatures inside of our nominal cells. So this is always reading what the ambient temperature is inside of the cells. This is what is used to turn on the heating pad and also our fans that are inside of the batteries, providing a cooling and heating solution all in one. Also, arsenal protection. Now we have a fire extinguisher. When the BMS reaches 400 degrees Fahrenheit, we are lighting that arsenal protection to ensure that there is no more thermal runaway. So this is a little bit of an added feature. Obviously, with LFP chemistry, one of the safest chemistries out there on the market for energy storage. This is an added layer protector. We at Pytes see the UL 9540 code and jurisdictions starting to require this in commercial. So it's just a matter of time where we see it in residential. We at Pytes always try to be as proactive as possible, providing a solution for you and also something to rest assured that your homeowners that they are going to be protected in case of a serious situation. Last but not least, on safety, we have now offered a 12-year warranty. This is something that our competitors do not offer. So this is something that is a blue chip quality here in Pytes. We believe in our product so much, we are allowing a 12-year warranty with our product line. So, we build these things to last way longer than 12 years, but rest assured the 12-year warranty will protect you for that long. And that's going to make homeowners really happy to hear for sure. Now talking a little bit more about our improved installation processes. Now having a wire trough and bus bars integrated as an accessory to the V10 battery and having the inverter be installed above these troughs, allow more ease of installation, better wire management. These are great things that are accessing and saving time into the field and also protecting our infrastructure here of wire management and an outside installation. Pre-charge circuit is huge. When we're installing and commissioning these systems, especially with a Victron or Schneider transformer inverter, these take a lot of energy to start up. So what this circuit does is it protects the batteries, once again, improving the longevity of the product. And that's what we have here. But speaking a little bit more about environmental advantages, I think that is the biggest thing when it comes to the V10 battery. So for one, we are IP66, so not just waterproof, but almost darn near immersion proof. So this thing can rock through hurricanes as long as it's not being soaked underwater. And it's also corroded proof. So the C4M is a protective coating that we have on both the outside and inside of the V10 battery, which means that this is the perfect battery for high humidity island saltwater climates. So your coastal, your Carolinas, West Coast, East Coast, Caribbean, Hawaii, very much suited for outdoor installations utilizing the V10 battery, providing a solution that's built to last in these environments. So those are just some big important things that I wanted to highlight today and wanted to thank you guys for being here in this presentation. Thank you, Logan, also for going over all of these detailed information here today. And with what time left, we will answer any questions that you guys might have.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that really quick. A huge thank you to everybody that joined. I have to apologize. I think the chat may have been disabled for most of that presentation, so I'm very sorry for catching that towards the end there. But we had a couple, one question come through on the chat, one question come through on the Q&A function. I think you should be able to utilize the raise hand function too. So we'll give it a few minutes. If there are any questions, we're happy to stick around and answer those. If you do have to jump off kind of the top of the hour mark, no worries as well. And then, all the resources anybody might need, our socials, our YouTube website are all right up here on the page in front of you. You're more than welcome to reach out to us directly. Sales inquiries, send those to Jonathan. Any tech questions or design related questions, you're welcome to include me on those. And our general email for Pytes USA team is down below there too. So feel free, ask away for any questions. We'll stick around for a few minutes if anybody needs anything. Thanks again.
Absolutely. Thank you, Logan. One thing I did see a couple questions here, but one other thing I wanted to note is with the usable capacity just under 10 kilowatt hours, we can pair two of these batteries together to be under 20 kilowatt hours, perfect for NEM3 and California installations as well. That is one key thing that we wanted to highlight here. And looking here, we have a question is when will the V10 be available? This has kind of been answered. It is available in It's be available in LATAM here at the end of this month, as well as Canada. We do have some shipments coming here in the United States for mass production in June, July time. So here in Q3 is when that product will be available. Thank you for asking that.
And then there's a question from Carrie on the Q&A. Thanks for reaching out there. You can reach out to me with any tech support questions. My email's right there on the last slide. We've got a tech support phone number as well. That's on our website. I'll see if I can drop that in really quick for all of you, just in case you need immediate phone support. But yeah, any questions about V10, V5, really any of Pyte's energy storage solutions, you're welcome to reach out.
Maybe here we might have another chat. How will affect the prices with the new tariffs for LATAM? Great question. So LATAM, they are not affected by the same tariffs as the United States. So our prices in LATAM, Mexico, and other LATAM countries, the tariff is a lot less. So the price is, not necessarily affected by those tariffs. Does Pytes manufacture their its own cells? Ethan, that is a great question. We work with a supplier for those tier one EV LFP grade A cells. But we manufacture the modules, the BMS, everything else that is the heating pads, all of those things are built from Pytes and manufactured in Shanghai.
All right, we'll give it maybe just another minute or two if there's any last questions. I think I see some people have already signed out. We will have the recording of today's webinar on our YouTube in the next day or so. So you're welcome to rewatch it or share if you have any colleagues or friends that weren't able to attend today. But maybe just another minute or two, see if there's any final questions, and then we'll probably call it for today.
Thank you, everyone, for attending as well. We really appreciate it. We're very excited to share more information about the V10 with you guys.
All right, everyone. Thanks for joining. We'll go ahead and close it for today. Any other questions, you're welcome to reach out to myself, to Jonathan, to our general inbox there. Like I said, we'll have the recording on YouTube posted here in the next couple days, but just want to say thank you again from Pytes and our entire US team for everybody that joined. We really appreciate it and are very excited about the new V10. So thanks again, everybody. Hope you have a great rest of your day and a great week.
Bye, everyone.